Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In this video I'm going to take you on a short tour of my UK exotic garden in July. So let's get straight into it. Well, it's been a while for regular viewers since I've posted a tour of the garden. We've had probably the worst summer that I can remember. It's been cold, wet, grey sky and miserable. And finally, over the last couple of days, we've had temperatures reaching, well, 30 in some parts of the country, low to mid 20s here, but we've got some blue sky and things are looking on the up finally. So I'm going to give you a quick tour, show you how the garden's looking at this point in the summer. We're still a month away from it looking its best, I suppose, when all the Rudbeckia are out, but it's filled out really nicely. I'm already cutting back certain things and keeping things under control, but we'll do a bed at a time. And then excuse me, I'd be interested in knowing how my garden compares to yours in terms of individual plants, what's growing well for you, what's not, and hopefully if you're new to exotic gardening in the UK, you might pick up a few ideas along the way. And we'll start in what I call my sunny border here, so you can see the shredded, windswept banana trees, Musa Basjoo, and we got all the wind coming from this side, so there's really little protection for these, but they are pushing out a new leaf every week or so, maybe every 2 weeks now. I was expecting, well, I was not expecting, but I was hoping that the middle one would flower. This is the tallest one here, and no signs of flowering. Of course they are monocarpic and they will die back after they do flower, but I'd like to get a banana flower. Lots of pups on the base as well, you can see around there, decent size. And these were plug plants 4 years ago, and you can see the size there. That's you know, pretty solid grove of Musa Basjoo. And then we've got this Euphorbia shilling eye around it. I've had to tie it up because it does get a little bit floppy in the wind. Some Canna's coming through. Persicaria red dragon's doing really well. I always find this quite interesting. In the darker parts of the garden, the shady parts of the garden, you do get real deep burgundy leaves, but yeah, a little bit of green on when there's more sun. All the Rudbeckia's just about to open. This will be full of Rudbeckia there. We've got this, I always forget the Latin name of this, but this is lamb's ear, and it has self-seeded here from a plant that's over there by the hammock, and I kind of like it trailing onto the path. A few people have asked about the path actually. This is self-binding gravel, like a Yorkshire cream. I think I got it sourced local, I think, in Doncaster, the company that provided this, but it is a cheap way of creating paths in your garden for those thinking of getting rid of the lawn. Lupins, I am expecting, if I've got a couple of second flushes, not very impressive, the second flushes are lupins, but yeah, I kind of like that foliage. It's a cottage garden, that's a cottage garden plant, but it does look the part. And then of course you're going to see loads of verbena everywhere around the garden. And then I've got my passion flower coming through. So that's what I call the sunny border, because it gets most of the sun throughout the day. I'm going to take a quick detour to the hammock, and I'm going to ignore the deck at the minute because we've got all the garden furniture elsewhere. But by the hammock, so this is one of the Musa Basjoo pups that I dug out and I've put here because I want to fill this space with another grove of banana leaves shooting up over this Fargesia ruffer. And you can see, if I take a step back there, you can see there's the view from the deck towards the gunnery, and I kind of feel like I do want maybe a sculpture would be good down there, or maybe something to draw your eye along the path there. I'm no expert in garden design, it's just I've made this up as I've went along, but maybe someone can suggest something to just have as a viewpoint along there. Now there's my Paulownia Foxglove tree that obviously I cut back every year. Now it's nowhere near as big as other people's, I don't know why. I think probably because it's shaded by the bamboo, but I've cut the bamboo back and tied it up to give it a little bit of breathing room. Most of my giant scabious has flowered now. There's an example of Cephalaria gigantea, I think the Latin name is. And these are, you're not going to get much taller flowers than this that don't need any support. But I kind of like the seed heads. It's hard to get something in focus there, but if you can cut them back, and they do produce second flushes later in summer. But I like those seed heads, so I'm going to leave them. I've got a Sonchus canariensis there. I love those cut leaves. I don't know if I'm going to get it to flower this year. We'll have to wait and see. And then this is my what is it? Let's get a bit of weeds out. Yeah, it's that giant bamboo that I forget the name of now. Trachycarpus gigantea, that's the one. So that is hopefully, when it gets big enough, going in the lawn. So I'm going to move on to the middle beds now that sort of curve round the lawn a little bit, and we'll start here because I've got my echinacea coming through. I love those. Grew those from seed about 2 or 3 years ago. Echinacea, yeah, that's right. This is Achillea, and that's echinacea. Tetrapanax there. I've got 2 sort of twin stems of tetrapanax under there. Again, a lot of verbena. Sonchus parmensis. Yeah, parmensis. Self-seeded foxglove there. I've got my Fatsia japonica. I've got a couple of them, and then there's my biggest of my 3 Trachycarpus Fortunei. So you can see this is it was planted about 3 years ago. That was the height there of the trunk, and so you can see the difference there. But it took a year or 2 to sort of settle in, get the roots down, and now it's yeah, growing really well. And then there's my Miscanthus giganteus. Now again, I've mentioned this in an earlier video, but it's sort of I do need to divide that, I think, next year, because it is kind of bare in the middle and growing outwards in a ring. But yeah, let me just give you a bit of scale from where the decking is. You can see how tall the Miscanthus giganteus is. And if we head over the bridge, it does have a stream, but I've not turned it on. Then we've got the Arundodonax here, which is probably the same, maybe a little bit taller than the Miscanthus giganteus. Moving around this side of the middle border, I've got various bits in there. Euphorbias, loads of verbena, Rudbeckias. I've got more Sonchus. There's another T-Rex in there somewhere. Fig trees. Camarops humilis down there. This is a little water thing for birds. And there you can see that's the middle border, I call it. I've cut back all the red hot pokers because it was a haven for slugs and snails. I'll cut that right back to open this. I'm going to plant some things around there. Then I've got my mind your own business growing over the rocks there. Hopefully I'd love that to just cover that whole stream there with greenery. And again, I know I've mentioned it before, and people have commented saying they like the stones here, but I do ultimately want to remove those stones to replace it with either railway sleepers or corten steel, something a little bit more modern, and just leave the central waterfall there. So we'll move on to the what I call the shady border next. So over here we've got hidden, down here we've got my barrel pond down there that has got a family of newts in it, frogs. And then over in that barrel there, if I zoom in, that is the new Miscanthus triarania. I can never remember how to say that, but it's the giant grass, the giant Miscanthus that's taller the Miscanthus giganteus, so I put that in as rooted cuttings, well, pieces of root actually, earlier in the summer, and at least one of them has taken and is pushing out front culms, but I think next year should be huge. Just really interesting looking sort of purpley pink stems on there. That'll be interesting. This is my cordyline that flowered, and I've cut it back, and you can see there's this kind of weird growth there, so I imagine that's gonna, I don't know, branch off. Do you call it dichotomize for cordylines? But I'm sure there's 2 or more growth points then after the flowering, and I'm going to cut it back eventually and open up more of the trunk. And then this is my well, my only Gunnera tinctoria now, because I've dug up and chopped up my other one. But you can see I've had to build a bit of a frame, because even though I do water it every day, it it flops over the path. Maybe I was a little bit optimistic that I could have a path so close to it there, but it is what it is. And as we move through the shady body, you can see it's about time to cut back certain things now. The Fatsia japonica has reached the height and overtaken the fence, which was what I was hoping to do, which opens it up down here. And you can see I've got a few ferns. Now, so these big ferns that are under here are the only original plants that were in the garden that are still here when I moved in, because it was almost entirely just grass with like 1 or 2 ferns. That was it. So I've saved them. I don't no idea what they are, but I would like to create more of a sort of a evergreen fern vibe under here. I've got this Euphorbia mellifera, probably in the wrong place, but it's fighting for space, and I am going to cut back a few other things to give it more room. There was sort of a gap there when I planted it, and it has filled it for the most part. Some of this Fargesia rougher that I've put in will probably have to go eventually, because it does, I don't want it to overtake the whole bed. It is a bit of a filler plant. A couple more potted sonchus. Then I've got my Trachy that's got the 2 trunks down there. And yeah, I'd kind of want this to, I can't wait for this to grow higher and kind of take over this this corner. And then up there we've got the cardoons, which are huge, 2 huge flowering stems up there. I reckon 10 foot, 11 foot maybe. But the smaller ones were covered in black fly, and these 2 seem to have been high enough that they are in there's a cross breeze across here, so they're high enough to I think stay out of the way. And more of the giant scabious you can see, which are nearly that tall as well. But I mean, I like the silhouettes of the seed heads there. Yeah. All right, I'm going to head down to the Arid Bed now, which of course has a different vibe from the rest of the garden, and it is looking pretty good. We'll start with that washing. I'm just going to close the patio door, and we'll start with a Washingtonia. Sold as a Washingtonia robusta, but probably a filibuster, because it's got all, I assume, it's got all these on. Now this whole bed was under cover from last October to April to get the rain off. It had a tarp on it and a frame on it, so it was totally dry, but still the Washingtonia did spear pull when I took it off and checked it in maybe May, I think. Yeah, the centre growing point did come away, but you can see there that I've not done anything. I know some people use bleach or something, and I know on that central point I didn't do anything, and you can see it is recovering, so it's got these small fronds pushing the way out now. But yeah, it is surviving, and I think it looks apart for now. But again, I've always said that it's just not a long-term proposition so far north in England. If I lived in centre of London or southwest coast, I think I could get away with a Washingtonia, but not in Yorkshire. And ultimately, it will be replaced by a nice big agave. Moving around then, this is my Opuntia ficus indica, which is the least hardy plant, I think, apart from the washi. I think it's the least hardy plant in this bed, and it did well enough that it's pushed out a lot of new fronds. I'm interested in what this damage is, whether it's too wet, too cold, I don't know. But again, I don't water this bed. I leave it to, so it has had a lot of rain, but it is pure gravel, so it does drain, but it has rained pretty much non-stop this summer. So the pads are really honestly chunky and solid. Of course, this will sort of become more cylindrical the older it gets, and I know eventually it will die off in a particularly cold winter, but for now I'm enjoying that tallest, the most upright of the Opuntia species that I've got in the bed. I've got a lot of the Aristallo aristata, the lace aloe, and you can see there that they're sort of alive in there, but sun stressed with the colours. Only one of them flowered for me, interestingly, so, and this one's more green, so I don't know whether because they're closer to the house and in more shade partly has anything to do with it, but I've got loads more of that plant to put around the bed. The next plant I want to talk about is this Yucca rostrata. Now, if anyone knows why the leaves look so bad, do let me know. I keep checking in the centre and the leaves are coming out green and just browning off on the edges. So when I bought this, it was in really bad wet compost over winter, and the roots were not looking great. But I dug it out. I took most of the compost off, and the roots were damaged and very wet. But I've planted it in pure gravel. I don't know whether I should cut these lower leaves off to give it more chance to recover the roots. But ultimately, I kind of like the uncut look on the rostrata, just to let it look more natural. And I've got another rostrata down there, a really young one that's got 2 growing points, and then a Yucca linearis or lineafolia there that's doing all right. So I do like my yuccas, and I'd like to get a few more in here. Is that a yucca as well? Filamentosa possibly. That one there. It might be. There's my Aloeampelus striatula, the striped aloe that has flowered. It's gone over now. I was hoping it'd be more bushy by this the second year in, and I can see, if I can angle correctly, zoom down there, it has got down, where's my finger, there, a few offsets coming, so hopefully that'll fill out a lot better over the next year or two. These two Opuntia are not staying there permanently, they're going to go by the front door. But this is an Opuntia facantha that's got a new pad and 3 new flowers coming. That's doing okay. This is my Sorencia bruckii, I think. I did think it was a Sorencia formosa, but it flowered twice earlier in the summer, and the flowers were red, so I think it's a bruckii. Then I've got this as a agave parii neo-mexicana, echiverias, and then I've got my 2 agave americanas that are popping now. If you look, zoom in, just there, look, pups coming through. So that's the Arid Bed, doing really well. I'd like to fill it out with more things. It's hard. I think this style is supposed to be sparse and leaving a lot of gaps between the plants like in Habitat, but it's really tempting just to fill it with little bits and pieces. I think the last thing I'll do is head up to the greenhouse for those people interested in the cacti and succulents in the greenhouse. Here we go. So a little bit of a mess, but a big project this summer has been creating some sort of habitat style plantings with I've got this stone desert from Exoterra, which is supposed to be for vivariums and terraniums, but I think it looks apart for these Lophophora, etc. So of course I'm still into my Copiapoa over here. Big Copiapoa, Aztecium, got on my first Strombocactus disciformis, A little Blossfeldia lilliputana. Tiny little plant there, the smallest cacti in the world. Trachycarpus astrophytums. Pelicifera. I love this little staging of little Pelicifera asaphramor, isn't it? The woodlouse cactus, I suppose. There you go. And then a flowering mammillaria there. So that's just a quick look in the greenhouse. The beer's not for drinking, by the way. I don't like that kind of beer, so that beer's for the slug traps. Anyway, that's it from the Great Northern Exotic Garden. Please consider giving this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.